Hello and good afternoon. This is Ep03 here with a third installment on my Railcraft train station. Hoping you've watched my previous two videos on my basic dimensions, how I set it up, how everything works, basic flow. Again, if you haven't seen previous videos, it'll make a whole lot more sense. I'm going to go into interlocks on this episode here and do my best to cover the craziness that is monitoring intersections and allowing one train into the intersection at once. So, as mentioned in the previous episode, we have a section of block signaling here, and this is kind of the back refueling area. This is probably my simplest intersection to explain, so yes, it looks complicated, but we'll try to break it down. Before we even go into the incoming inbound sections, I think it's easier to look at the outbound sections where we're putting trains as they go through the intersection. So I've already mentioned over here that the primary refueling areas are this orange section in here and then this blue section in here. Well, what I've done over here is sent that block signal there is sending over to here, and then this is repeating it to here and to here, and this guy is relaying it to here. So block signal to receiver, receiver to controller, controller to receiver. Did the exact same thing over, well, not the exact same thing, but I did a basic similar thing over here where this block signal is passing to this guy. Now, why do I have a gate here? What's going on is I have space. I can put a train either there or I can put a train over here. Well, if this slot is open or this slot is open, then we're safe to send another train through. Hence, an OR gate. So what this is showing us right now is you are green, therefore you are sending a redstone signal because you have emit redstone aspect on the green signal. Because you are green, you are sending a redstone signal into the OR gate. The OR gate, because either one of them, or both of them for that matter, has space for another train, we send a redstone signal on. And this, I don't remember whether I had to reverse these. We definitely have multiple controller boxes that are reversed. So as we get, now it's red. It is red because we have a train in the red section for just a second. It traveled through and made up front to the yellow, and now we're green again. So because we have space on either side, send another train through. The orange here is not the same as this orange up front. I'm just reusing colors, so I do apologize for that. But this orange controller box may or may not, I think this is probably backwards. I can't remember what the default. You know what? Let me check, because I should know that. This is my Railcraft supply bag. And if I slap a controller box down, default aspect is green, redstone aspect is red. Alright, so what's going on with my setup here is I've inverted this. We're going to say that if there is no redstone signal coming in, if this OR gate is not giving me any power, then we're bad. Hence, default aspect of red. If we are getting a signal from whatever, and it doesn't really care what it's getting its redstone signal from. You could have it from a lever, you could have it from a button, you could have it from a computer, whatever. Then because we have a redstone signal aspect, we are green. We are good, send another train. I would highly, highly recommend always stick with green is good, because that's just how Railcraft is designed. You can invert things and it just confuses everybody. So let's see here. Because we are green, this controller box is just passing this green signal over to the receiver box. And emit redstone aspect on green, emit redstone aspect on green, emit redstone aspect on green. Alright, so these receivers are all kind of normal. Now somebody just said bad. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. There's somebody in the intersection. Don't send. So the receiver box here, because these guys are connected, and you can kind of see the little connected arm there, this is passing its aspect. It is passing the color, not the redstone signal, but it's passing the Railcraft color signaling of green, of healthy and happy, to the controller box. Because we have all three of these connected in, it's effectively acting like an AND gate, that all three of them have to be happy. If all three of them are happy, then we pass on a green signal. Now, these are the actual interlock boxes, and they kind of say, all right, one of you may go. But the best part about interlocks is you can have one additional receiver box on the side here. And you'll notice these are not connected. That is intentional. So this receiver box is effectively getting the sum of the parts of all this stuff. If there's space there, or there's space there, we're good. If we're good over here, and we're good in the intersection, then we're good to send another train as needed. So that's really all this is doing, is are we good to send another train? We're good because we have space, we're good because the intersection's clear. So this yellow here, as you can kind of guess, this red pixie dust coming down is monitoring part of this yellow section, and then there's another, this block signal there is relaying down to this receiver box. So we kind of have this big zigzag of block signals, and there's a relay underneath the switch track, and there's a relay under here, and so this is one big Z being monitored. So as soon as that train clears, now we are good because we now have space. So the rest of this simply becomes intercepting a signal. We have signal interlock boxes. We have a light blue block signal up here going to this receiver, and this is normal. This is just, we're good, send the next one. Well, because we are saying we're good, what this is actually saying is we are empty. And that's fine, because again, empty is also safe. We're going to add a little bit of delay in here. These are, I think, both set to 32 ticks. And that might be why some of the 16's drawn out here. But what we're doing is intentionally separating the receiver and this controller box with some redstone, because what we're doing here is, again, inverting it. So the default aspect here is green, and if we're getting a signal, don't bother sending anything, is what it's coming down to. So these are both showing red because we're not asking for anything. We don't need to send a train, and therefore these guys are both not bothering to send anything. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pulse. I bet you there's one coming anyway, but I'm going to go ahead and pulse it. The interlock boxes are paired with two different things at once. They're taking a controller box signal and going in and saying, okay, I receive your controller box signal. Thank you for that. There's a train coming, by the way. We'll watch the lighting here. But that is cyan. So this is going to invert. It's going to say, oh, there's a train in the way. And because there's a train in the way, this guy says, ooh, can I please send him? And the interlock says, well, one of us can send a train at a time, but not both of them. That's the whole purpose of the interlocks. And we must also have permission from this receiver box. And the receiver box monitors everything else. So if the intersection is clear, and there's a space to put it, and there's a train coming in the inbound lane here or the inbound lane over there, then we send one at a time. So as I was starting to say, this controller box sends a signal to the interlock. The interlock basically intercepts the signal and passes a green signal on when appropriate. So by default, this guy is saying, no, I'm not allowed to go. I'm not allowed to send this one because I haven't gotten permission yet. And as we detect a train here, it passes it on as I've already described. We stopped sending redstone. Because we're no longer sending redstone, this says, oh, there's something different. I'm going to turn green. This guy says, oh, one of you are allowed to be green at once, so I'm going to pass, as appropriate, one green signal out to one of them, and it releases the train. Red, green, 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 go. And now you're all red. So I hope that all makes sense. I would definitely recommend looking at Forecaster's video. But if you can understand that the controller box, the interlock, and a receiver go in that order, that the controller box sends stuff through the interlock to a receiver, and the interlock only passes the signal on when it's safe for one of them to go. If you can get that concept down, then the rest of this becomes much easier. So, likewise, we have a similar concept down here. So this whole intersection here, this orange from this area over to here and over to there, is considered the section of intersection we are monitoring and interested about. We have a blue section here so we need space in there, and we also need space over here in this red section. In the previous section, in the previous back refueling area, we only cared about ore. Is there a slot here, or is there a slot here? As mentioned in the previous video, I don't know whether there's going to be a player on this incoming train or not. If that had been a train with a player, it would have gotten routed to the left and would have been dropped off here. So we need both this red section here and this blue section here open. Inbound, we have our internal loop on this magenta section, and we have our actual inbound from outside the train station on this light blue. So if we go down here, let me in. What can I break? Don't want to just go breaking everything. All right, down here, similar concept. We had the red on the left, we have the blue on the right. Well, we got blue for the express inbound. We got red receiving here for the player side inbound, and then we have orange here, orange brick here for the intersection. Now, the only time we want to let someone into the intersection is when all three of these are happy, so we have an AND gate. If the slide is open, and the intersection is open, and the other side is open, then we are green. So default aspect of red, redstone aspect of green. Because we are getting a redstone signal, we are happy. Because we are happy, we can tell the interlock boxes, yeah, the intersection's safe, you can send another train if one asks for it. And then again, same concept down here. We've got blue coming in from outside, and we're going to, I think I might actually have this different. Maybe I have it different in the back. I apologize if I'm reversing things around. But the long and short of it, green, we are currently green, so we're not going to send a signal. We're sending a signal only if we are red, which means there's a train there. So if we have a train there, then we are requesting. So when this repeater lights up, then we are requesting to please send a train. This controller is wired up to the interlock box. The interlock box is wired up to the boarding track up there in order to allow the train to go through. So I, again, hope that all makes sense. It should be review since I've already covered it once in the back room. But this is the signal receiver, which is watching this boarding track. And I do not have a delay on that because I want to have a better chance of catching inbound trains and keeping them separate. Over here, this is our magenta receiver. We do have a repeater on this, and there's just one little bit of red alloy wire, which is then powering this boarding track. Normally, red alloy wire will actually point towards the item that it's transmitting redstone signal to. For some reason, it does not work with Railcraft tracks, but it's a visual thing only. Simultaneously, so this block signal here paired with this guy is telling the interlock down below, we don't have a train here, don't worry about me. Simultaneously, this back one is also sending the same signal to this receiver box. And what this is doing, this whole section here, again, I've harped on it a couple times, but I really like keeping trains separated so they're not on top of each other. So if there is a train up here in this magenta section, this magenta block with the block signal, all of these lock down. So these are all holding tracks. And if there's a train up in that magenta section, you all need to just pause for a second. Just everybody stay still, because I don't want more than one train up there waiting. Back here, we simply have a timer, and this, I love extra utilities sound mufflers. They're wonderful. Otherwise, this timer here would be making all kinds of noise. Let me just make a little bit of a hole, and of course I'm flying, so my digging speed's a little down. But this sends this redstone signal all the way down. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and release the next one for the fun of it. You, come here for a second. So what you'll see is that the train's up there, that locked down. Now that we're on a timer, the timer is just barely pulsing and letting this train go through, and it's not, obviously not letting two trains through at once. This is a really short repeater duration, just 8 ticks. And when there's a train sitting there, the timer is actually shut down. The way that works is, oh, did I just break something? I think I just broke something. Yeah. This red ally wire comes from this receiver over here. So this receiver box is sending the signal all the way down here. And it looks like I was relaying that signal through this block. So let me fix this real quick. But this is an OR gate. Alright, so all I'm basically doing here is just kind of pushing the signal through. The OR gate sends a stronger signal than the basic red ally wire, and so it's actually working like a vanilla mechanic, where it's got a vanilla repeater that's pushing a signal through a hard solid block and onto the other side. And it might not be working. Why are you not working? I bet you I need to turn this. Not like I can see it. Oh, what did I do? Please don't mind me as I troubleshoot my own issues. What do you want to bet that I had this OR gate further back? Will you go there? Oh my gosh. This obviously is not how I had it set up before. But I need to get redstone signal through this block. There we go. So I'm using red ally wire. I'm going through an OR gate. The OR gate is sending signal through this stone block down here. And the NOT gate is saying, okay, if I'm not getting any signal, then lock the timer down. I don't want to send the next train through the timer's area. So I don't know if that's the most easiest way to do it, but it works. Timer sends trains. That whole section locks everything down if there's a train ahead. And if there is a train ahead, then this relays through a NOT gate and locks the timer down. Because if the Project Red timer has a signal on the side, then it does not continue ticking off. And we can watch that real briefly here. Yep. So it locked down because the tracks are not getting a signal. And as soon as the tracks light back up again, the timer comes back on. So that's kind of intersections, interlocking, and my overkill method of separating trains out. Let me just really briefly show another intersection that's outside the train station. This intersection out here, I'm not sure if I've seen anyone else do it this way, but basically I'm just copying off of how traffic patterns are designed on just normal roads in real life. What I've done here is effectively made a traffic circle. So I am definitely keeping everything on the right as it's coming in. Sorry, I'm not a Brit. And this is just another interlock. So this blue, the blue is monitoring this section. There's a yellow, and there's another yellow monitoring that section of track. And there's a red section here monitoring this section of track. So underneath is where I have all my interlock hardware. And I actually have a couple different sections of I know what that is. Okay. I have a couple things going on here, but I have two different sections of intersection being monitored, and then the rest of this is just taking the exact same interlock concept, but instead of having two, I now have three. And you can go I'm pretty sure you can go much higher than that, but I don't know how many you really want. You probably want to just queue things up and extend multiple different intersections. But what I was saying with the traffic circle is everything, if it's going to make a decision, it's either going to go straight or right. So if a train comes in here, it's pretty much forced to make a right turn. We do not need anything switching on this. It hits this, yes, this is a left turn, but there's no decision making being done. When it gets to here, there is a switch motor here, and it's a routing switch motor. We'll go into that, but Forecast is probably your best resource for that. And we're red, we're green. What this is saying is, if your destination starts with Sky, is your destination Skybridge? If so, you want to go that way. So in a decision-making process, we're either going straight or we're going right. Now we come around, and this is effectively just a turn, because if you have this and you're entering into it, it's just going to force you this direction. And again, now we have a decision-making process. Is your destination Subway? If so, switch over to that way. If your destination is not Subway, go forward. We hit this, it's effectively a left turn, and now we're making the decision, is your destination Skybridge or your destination Subway? If so, we send you back around the loop again. If you do not have a destination of Sky or Sub, go forward into the train station. So what this allows, because we have it set up like this, if you wanted to go directly from a subway destination and go directly up the Skyway to a different destination and totally skip main station altogether, you can. Unless you need fuel, there's absolutely no reason to go forward into the train station if you're going from a subway to a Skyway. So pretty much all intersections are designed like this in some fashion. I have not gone overly crazy with all the interlocks and all the other intersections. I've just, again, crossed my fingers and hope there's no accidents. As you can see here, I'm not using quite as much in the way of the overhead block signaling. These are not block signals. These are just simply lights that tell you what the status is. It's a distance signal. The block relay boxes down here, I could not get a full square to work, so I end up making 2 L's. So this guy is paired here and here, and then this one is paired here and here. So it's 2 different L shapes, and if either one of them is unhappy, then we assume there's a train in the intersection. Assuming there is no train in the intersection, then one of the 3 sides may go. And then again, more advanced information panels, because they're handy. I think that's going to cover it for intersections, for navigating multiple different trains trying to approach at the same time and splitting things up. I do thank you for watching. I will definitely proceed on and explain the outbound side. It behaves a little bit differently, and admittedly it has some room for improvement because this whole entire outer side is not monitored at all. But I will go into that in my next episode. Until then, take care.